Okay, peace. We are live. Um, Let me make sure everybody's good. Can everybody hear me? Seems like everything's cool. Okay. Peace family, this is Mr. Kojo. We're going to be running Hawab Region 6 local jurisdiction classes here. Be sure if you're in the neck of the woods of Dallas to pull up at the Yoruba Culture Center. If you need the address, feel free to reach out. But we're definitely hosting classes here live, so as well as online too, so we can get more intimate and stuff like that. So I'm gonna get into the subject. So let me minimize my screen real quick. Okay. Now, on folks on Instagram, you're gonna have to go to either YouTube or you just have to join the local jurisdiction class if you're in Dallas. But these are the subjects we should be talking about. Make sure it's working. Okay, cool. Cool. Yeah, so we're going to be talking about investment opportunities that I think are worth investigating, looking into. I know I am. I always make suggestions. Obviously, this is a different climate, so I don't know how everybody's resources are looking, but it's something to look into to actually put park your money at, and maybe where it can return on a particular investment. So we'll be talking about that. Also, we're going to be talking about, are you asking the right questions? When you're dealing with people, mates, things of that nature, there are certain questions that I think you need to be doing, things that you should be doing, and just things that whenever you're interacting with your current or existing relationships, you know, there's certain things that you should be asking, right, moving forward. And then um, we're going to be talking about developing a mindset and things of that nature, and as well as, are you prepared? Because there's some things that have been unveiling that I don't think a lot of people are aware of. Maybe you are, but these are just some things that you should be mindful of. Uh, Peace. Um, Let me see.
Hey, peace, y'all.
Peace, peace, peace. Let's go ahead and kick it off with the preamble. So I'm gonna go ahead and recite it. So, we, the people of the Aboriginal Republic of North America, asserting our natural Aboriginal rights as the oldest recorded Aboriginal Indigenous peoples of the Americas, consisting of an Aboriginal Union of Indigenous peoples, living in accordance with natural law, the law of our ancestors, do hereby recognize all nationals of the Aboriginal Republic of North America as a unified community, establish our divine right to self-rule, the common defense of our nation, a complete unified will for progress and prosperity by and for our people, establishing justice by way of natural law and equality, and complete autonomy as a nation. Okay, so as a national, you should know your preamble, as well as you should know the 12 general orders. This is not something that should be groundbreaking or earth shattering, but it's just something you need to know, right? Um, and as well as making sure that you're staying up to date with your dues. Everybody knows I keep talking about it because there's a specific reason why I keep talking about it. Stay up to date with your dues, okay? And we always talk about the importance of why dues are important. The Aboriginal Summit is coming up in ATL, so if you're able to come through and attend, be sure to do so. Love to see you there. Otherwise, we'll catch you on the next event. And it's August 19th through the 21st in ATL. All right, so the investment opportunity. We're talking about Boxable. Now, I don't know if anyone's familiar with this, but it's it's one of these housing development situations where it's solving a housing situation for a lot of people. Because there's a lot of people who maybe can't actually buy a house because of being priced out of the market. And so this is a good way for you to actually, you know, dip your toe in as an investor. And if you actually want to, buy, this particular box build of a house, and it's basically a modular house. And um, yeah, so that's the problem that they're solving, is that a lot of people are not able to get into housing. So these things cost roughly around, I think, 50,000, and they're pretty good spacious size, and they can also customize and things of that nature. So as far as like investing into the company itself, if I'm not mistaken, is like worth around like maybe 2 to 3 billion. Now, why do I even bring it up? Well, the reason why I'm bringing it up is just because typically valuations for companies we want to stay in the 3 to 5 million range, but given to inflation and things of that nature and just the way the market is shifting, companies are inflating, the prices of their companies. But nonetheless, what this company is doing, and they've been thriving for about 5 plus years, and they have raised, I think about like maybe 25 million or so in a different round. But I guess that's just my take on it personally. But here's some like pros and cons about it. Um, like I said, the market 15 trillion by 2023 as far as like housing, real estate, and things of that nature, right? They already have customers, existing customers, like people who are already buying it, people who are taking these houses, making apartments out of them, basically stacking them on top of each other, and basically giving housing to a lot of people who can't necessarily afford it. So whether it's renting it, whether it's actually selling it. So these are the pros, and obviously the con, like I talked about earlier, is that it is the valuation is high, but for what the problem that it's solving, it's worth looking into. So that's why, and I think it's roughly $1,000 just to get into actually invest in it, and you can invest on the Republic website. So I think you can see that on the last one. But yeah, so if there's any questions on that, any thoughts, just let me know. Otherwise, I'll move on. Won't take up too much of people's time on that particular subject. Um, and keep in mind, just the reason why you want to invest in some of these startups is because one, the main two big things that can happen: either the IPO, meaning they go on the New York Stock Exchange and they go public, or they get bought out by a bigger company. And there's a bigger player in this space that's already public, so they could potentially buy out this company while at the same time they go in public. So that's what I'm saying. It's a win-win situation. So anyway, uh, moving on to like the investments. So I know I've talked to a lot of y'all about crypto and things of that nature. Still think crypto is still great. Still think blockchain is still great. There's just certain shakeouts that are taking place because, again, there's been a lot of dumb money and there's been a lot of schemes that people have been running. Not a lot of cryptos are going to make it, and that's perfectly fine. But the essential thing is the technology. So obviously, the company that I'm referring to that you see in the screen is Celsius, right? They, they basically cannot afford to pay people. So what do? They're filing Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and they basically stated that, yeah, the crypto that is on the exchanges, on the Celsius exchange, y'all never owned it anyway. You signed your rights away within the terms and conditions, which is why we always talk about read the terms and conditions, right? But going back to some of the things that I've told y'all before, you definitely want to not put all your eggs in one basket. So you definitely want to have a hardware ledger wallet or some other crypto wallet, or you want to have a hot wallet where basically you keep the private keys, the passwords, and things of that nature, such as like on Atomic Wallet, where you control it, um, and it's pretty accessible. You just have to make sure that you don't lose your keys. You keep them in a particular place, right? So these are things that you should be doing. And again, you can still make passive income, whether it's on the ledger, whether it's on your Atomic wallet, and it's not on an exchange, which is important. Because if it was on an exchange, then you suffer through situations like Celsius, right? So again, if you didn't put all your money on Celsius, that's good. Again, it's just being held up. That's all. You'll still get it back. So if there's no questions on that particular portion, this is still some cryptos that I think, based off of the real-time applications, that you definitely want to look into. But again, whether it's VeChain, whether it's, BAT, these have particular real-time applications, Cosmos, things of that nature, right? So why do I even bring it up? Because you got people like Carl Icahn who are still investing into these particular technologies. So Okay, choosing wisely. Let me see if I can play this guy. Goddamn video.
Without a question, that would be waking up in the hospital after being married 28 years. Your wife's gone. She was crazy. I was in there for back surgery. I didn't know she was already seeing someone else. It was a shock. It was something I wasn't aware of. I didn't have the imagination that would happen in 28 years. That wasn't the bad part. She's being blindsided. The groundwork that was being taken place. She was getting the post office loans, selling my house. I went from having a house on the golf course, house in the beach, Gulf Shores, to no house at all. And basically, allocated me on the street around anything that I wanted on the life. When I was 68, I wish I made better plans.
Yeah, so probably might have been a little bit hard to hear, but like the whole idea behind that was that this dude had back surgery. He was out for a little bit, and the wife that he was married to for like 29 years up and left him, and was planning it for a long time, obviously, because the dude was out. By the time he woke up, house was gone. Everything that he had was gone. It was sold off. The man was basically left with nothing, right? And he was blindsided by all of that, and he was just like, "Wow, like I wasn't expecting all of this." So let me move on to my next point. Let's see if I can. Okay. So I don't know if everyone can see that, but basically, this is a image of Johnny Depp, right? And it basically says the worst prison in the world is a home without peace. Be careful who you marry or fall in love with. Like we all know that, but it just goes into choosing wisely, making sure you choose wisely who you're mating with, right? Because if you're not having peace at your house and you're going home, like there's family that I know personally, in my own family, and they're going home and it's not peaceful. Like they feel like they're in a prison, and it's a horrible situation to be in. So pick wisely, right? So how do you pick wisely, right? Well, it's not by thinking with your lower head. You got to have standards, right? You got to have certain flags that give off okay, yeah, like I'm seeing some green flags, so I'm treading calmly, nothing alarming. But then if you see something that's a major red flag, you go hold on, I'm seeing some issues, right? And so these are some things that you have to like put in your mind, even with your current situation with your spouse, right? You still have to have red flags where it's like, okay, if we don't get that corrected, if we don't get that corrected, then this is going to be a habitual pattern, and it's not going to go away, and it's going to become a habit, and then therefore, so like, let me give you an example. If let's say the dude is just chilling, just like all day, and he's just like lazy, right? Just he doesn't want to go to work. He just really just wants to just chill and waste time. Well, if that goes on unchecked or just left to itself, then what's going to happen is that the wife or the girlfriend may be like, do you not do anything besides just chill? And some people are okay, like, yeah, I just chill all day. I ain't got nothing going on for myself. And if you leave that alone, that's going to be an issue, because especially if you want somebody to take care of you and things of that nature, or build something substantial lifetime over time, you can't let things like that go unchecked. So these are red flags. So there's certain things that you have to have that it's a no go. Like no matter what, I may like the person may be dope, but I cannot let that slide. Because if you do, you're going to be the one that's going to be so upset that you let it slide. You're like, damn, if I didn't say anything, if I should have said something. So you just have regret. And you're like, damn, I'm with this person, and they doing the same thing that I told them afterwards of like a year of them doing it that I don't like it. Well, you waited a year. Now it's a habit. So good luck trying to change them. So these are things that you want to keep in mind. It's like, what are things that are like, okay, that's a no go, right? And so you have to stop. So these are things that you want to be careful when selecting the female, right? So even when you're meeting somebody, the first thing that it may come off kind of like different, but you just say very calmly, like, "Hey, how you doing? I'm good. Um, if you don't mind me asking, when is your birthday?" Right? And they're all like, "Oh, da 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 da." They don't even have to tell you the year. But the reason why you're asking that obviously is to get the information so that you know what card they are, right? So because you've done the rites of passage, basic cosmology, so you know how to figure out the cards. So that is the first thing you need to be asking. It may come off a little different, but people are like, "Oh, you asking about birthday? I don't know you." Obviously, don't ask it as the first thing you go, but have a little bit of conversation, build a little bit of rapport. But you need to ask that ultimately, because why dance around the subject? But most of the time, the reason why you ask that is just to confirm certain energies that you're feeling out. Especially if you're intuitive and you're aware, you know what meshes well. You know what's flowing well. You know what's magnetic. You know what's this ain't working. Like nope. Like these are things that intuitively if you pay attention to them. But if you're not paying attention to them, you'll have problems, right? So there are some things that you want to look for when it comes to female selection, right? The big thing that I've noticed is just what was their interaction with their father, right? How was that interaction? How was the interaction with the mother? Like, did they stay together? Did they break apart? All these things matter, like, because like that's very traumatic to a child. Even after the child is an adult, that they find out that their parents are like not working it out or they split up, it still affects the child because the child will always be the child. So that's one big thing. The other thing is, um, do they know what they want to look for as far as like physical health in a man? Do they want to know when it comes to like culture, all these things. These are just some of the things, right? And I'll get into some of the specifics. But some of the stuff a lot of the stuff you can find in the Immaculate Conception book, right? That Dr. Ali wrote. So, and the same thing goes with the male. There's things that women, should be asking for, as far as like, what to look for, right? Um, somebody says Africans have two birthdays, which it's a good God. So with the males, right? Maybe women should be asking, "Hey, are you trained to defend? Do you have any type of martial art science within you that that you can defend me, our family, and others?" Right? That's very important because like if somebody is helpless, somebody doesn't know how to use a firearm, somebody doesn't even know basic defense like mechanisms to fight, protect, and things of that nature, you're dealing with a duck. Like that is a no go, right? So for all men, you need to pick up some type of martial art science, whether it's karate, whether it's what is it, Thai, Muay Thai, boxing, kickboxing, all that stuff. Like these are different disciplines, and there's a reason why you want to dabble into that, right? And the big thing that a lot of things that I've been seeing is, do you have children, right? If you have children, okay, how many do you have, right? These are just sometimes it's a no go for people, like, and these are things that you wanna know. What makes you upset, as a person? What drives you as a person? Like these are things that you would want to know up front. So that's why you want to ask these questions, because otherwise you're just probably just thinking, "Oh, damn, like damn that nigga fine," or "Dang that's just got fat ass." Like yo, like yeah. I mean you're not coming from the right place, or like, "Oh damn, he got a lot of money. Like he looked like he got a lot of money." So you're not asking the right questions. So that's sometimes when you're not thinking with your mental head, you're thinking with something else, put you in a bad spot. Okay, so it's it's very basic, but people like act like it's not real. Um, and one of the big things that I think a lot of people struggle with is jealousy. Um, how are you comfortable within yourself not to get jealous of other people and just certain situations? I remember dating somebody and I gave somebody a hug, and they're like, "Damn, why you hug that person so long?" I'm like, "Hold on, it's just it's a standard hug that I give to everybody. I give everybody a standard loving hug, you know." Hence, I know it says no love, but obviously that's not what it means. So, but somebody was jealous. They were like, "Damn, like I don't like that." I'm like, I even dab up people, yeah, yeah. So anyway, it's important, right? So anyway, I won't spend too much time on that. Some other questions. STD, like, yo, people act like this is not 2022. You need to ask that because you don't want to catch something. There's somebody I know that they were dating somebody and then they decided to not use a Jimmy, and guess what happened? This person is now at risk for an STD, right? So and then the person said, you know what, I forgot to tell you. The sister was like, you know what, I forgot to tell you. Actually, da 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 da. I'm like, oh. So and this person they were dating for like 5 months, and it's like, yo, you never asked that question. So that's what I mean by asking the right question. Like we 5 months we don't know if the person's clean or not. Problem, right? Another big thing is like, what does sex mean to you? Because sometimes people have traumas. Maybe they were, those things, right? They were touched inappropriately, or they got violated. Things of that nature. Like that is important because like you need to know because if you're not able to handle that person's, traumas and whatever they need to do to grow through it, you may not want to go through that because that maybe not be something that you want to go on that road with that person because it's a lot. People who go through that, it's a lot, and it's something that has to be treated very delicately. So anyway, um, do you cheat? Have you ever cheated? That's important, right? Because like if they have a habitual pattern of like, you know what, I'm bored, I'm about to go find somebody else, right? So that's important. You need to know what's their track record. Like, what does that look like? Um, what you say that sounds like possession? No, not really. It's just you need to know because like if they have a pattern of yeah, I've cheated on all my exes in the past. It's like damn, were you ever faithful at one point? So that's the reason why I say that you would want to know. Now, some of the other questions is, education. Like, what's your education? Did you go to college? Did you finish high school? Are you studying, things outside of the normal institutions and continuing to grow your education? These are things that you would want to be asking, your potential mate, right? They say they lie. Oh, you're right. But I mean, it's some may tell the truth though, regardless if, whether you ask it or not. But that's where you have to use discernment, right? And you just you gotta be observant. When you're in a relationship with somebody, you have to be observant. You know when something is off of what they're doing. They're like, they used to be like all up on you, now they just chilling. Oh, okay. Is something wrong, or is something on your mind, or are you somewhere else, right? Like you have to be observant, right? This is something that grows into something beautiful, right? Other things is what are some favorite fields to study in? Um, these are just questions that you would want to ask, right? And then some of the other things is like what's your spiritual practice? What does that look like for you? Because sometimes you may have two opposing spiritual practices, and if you have that, then it's like, okay, are y'all really aligned with each other? The whole point is that you want to eliminate things that are not aligned, because if you find yourself in a relationship or situational ship where things aren't aligned, you'll find yourself maybe doing things that you wouldn't normally do, or maybe letting things slide that you would normally let go, or just basically resenting the person because you're like, damn, like I have to like, you know, step down a little bit or have to compromise. You don't. It doesn't have to be that way. Is what I'm saying. If you ask the questions and have the certain standards, so just keep that in mind. Okay. Now let's talk about what was somebody saying? After the problems come, that's when they. Yeah, that's true. So let's talk about developing mental strength, y'all. So it goes back into some of the things that we talked about. It's very important. The way the world is shaking, the way things are looking, you need to have mental strength. And how do you get that? By developing discipline, by having certain routines that keep you, okay, yeah, at a certain time, I'm going to wake up, do X, Y, Z. I'm going to walk, I'm going to work out, then I'm going to get after the hardest thing I need to get after, right? Um, having these type of routines, having these type of habits is going to build up mental strength, so that when things keep piling up on you, you'll be able to handle it. You won't cave in, or if maybe a situation throws you a curveball, you're not, oh damn, you're not buckling your knees and falling over. That's the whole point of developing mental strength, right? So, making sure that you're eating right. We talked about this before. Eating right definitely leads to certain particular manifestations, right? If you're not eating well, you're not exercising, you're not taking care of your vessel. Listen, there's gonna be all types of things that are gonna show up at your doorstep. They'll be like, "Damn, was not expecting that," right? And coming home to a peaceful home, that's important. If you're always arguing with somebody, if you're always, chastising that person, or if you're always, damn, why can't you do anything right? You always, um, basically, nagging them to do something. Chances are, the mind ain't gonna be clear, and it's gonna be all fuzzy. It's gonna be like, damn, man, like, why am I even here? So it's important. And then I think a lot of things that a lot of people don't know how to do is suffer, learn how to suffer. Okay. There's always going to be a situation that's going to put you in a place where you're kind of uncomfortable, so you're going to do a little bit of suffering, but then it's how you suffer, right? Like, acknowledge that this is a situation, but then you don't stay there forever. So, and most people don't know how to do that. They just kind of stay there, and they're like, damn, I can't believe this happened. Damn, I can't believe this has happened. Dang, I can't. So they're always constantly suffering to the highest degree, and they just don't know how to suffer properly. Suffer properly is just like, okay, I see what's happening, but you know what? I'm not going to trip. I know how to. I know what I'm going to do to address it, or this is what I'm going to do to execute. So as long as you take that approach, like you acknowledge it, then you move forward, then you know how to suffer, right? Because there's always going to be challenges, circumstances, life that takes place. It's just how do you suffer? Do you stay there forever, and you just that's all you think, that's all you feel, that's all you say, that's all you do is suffer? Then hey, listen, it's gonna be a tough life, right? And then just focusing on a bigger picture, bigger purpose, having that bigger motive that's bigger than yourself, right? Like, what is that particular thing that's serving somebody, that's helping somebody else, or that's helping the larger population? Is that your particular focus? And especially, does that align with your cosmology cards, right? You should know all that stuff, right? And then, like I talked about before, as far as like martial arts, you gotta do all that stuff. Like, if you don't know how to do any martial arts sciences, pick one up. They're pretty affordable. You can do them for like $10, maybe even less than that at certain places, just so you can get the basics, so that you know what to do, right? So, uh, duh, 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 duh. And then I know what everybody's been seeing on certain timelines, like recession, deflation, all this other stuff. Listen, all that you need to do is just focus on staying prepared, staying prepared, staying prepared, um, and looking ahead. So how do you do that? We'll get that in a second, right? So you need skills. We've talked about skills before. Skills are very important. Skills that are relevant to things that people are doing: quantum computing, programming, web development, sales and marketing. Like, these are skills that don't never go away, and they're going to be more and more needed. Right? Cloud computing, um, you name it, you're going to probably need it. At least to some of these skills that are on the screen, right? Um, but the point is that you want to develop skills, useful skills, not just underwater basket weaving, right? I know we talked about this before, but it's very important. You need these skills. Because if you don't, I guarantee you, you're going to have problems. um, so here's another thing that it's proposed gasoline and diesel fuel rationing contingency plan. This was stamped back in 1977, right? Now, why were they doing that back then, right? Maybe because they're trying to prepare something 50 years out, which is stuff that we need to be doing. We need to be planning stuff out like 50 years out, like with families, right? So, why do I bring this up? Well, because in Sri Lanka, um, they've already proposed a a deal where basically their quote unquote um, nationals have a QR code and they get a certain amount of gas based off of the QR code and things of that nature. So there's only a certain amount of gas that you can get because they're rationalizing. They're quote unquote anchoring down on resources. Yeah, that's what I'm telling y'all is that they're trying to prevent a shortage from coming, and with Russia cutting people off, China cutting people off, all these other people like people better get themselves prepared, um, for real, like seriously. Um, so I don't know if anyone's seen that before, but that's true. So what can you do now with all this information? Well, one, you definitely want to be asking the right questions when you're interacting with people, when you're interacting with just other families, because sometimes you want to do business with another family, but the family themselves don't have it together. And so if you didn't ask these certain questions to see where their vision is, where they're going, then you would probably fall into a pit trap or a pitfall because maybe they didn't do something that was within your standards, right? Or something that you're like, ooh, that doesn't look good. So you wanna just ask the right questions. Have these conversations with people. You also want to build with families, like I told you, build with other families, build skills, um, build institutions, build all these things. Because if you don't have a jurisdiction, who's going to protect you? Who can you call on when you need something? Whether you need something with health, whether you need something with law, whether you need something with psychology, whether you need something with real estate, economics, birthing, death, all that stuff. Who are you going to call? Because certainly you don't want to keep calling on the people that are putting you in a bad position, right? That's the whole point. So you need to develop these institutions. Because if you don't, hold on, y'all. Oh, okay, cool. Oh, diesel is killing me, right? Okay, yeah, true. So, and then just being functional as a national. Like some of y'all are still not functioning as a national, meaning there's certain things that you're not tapping into. Like I went to Lowe's today because I needed to get some things for the HVAC unit. They're like, all right, that'll be 100, da 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 da, and I'm like, oh wait, type in this number for my tax exemption. They're like, tax exemption? What's that? I'm like, you know, your store has it. I'm like, oh okay. Let me call a manager. So they call a manager. They type in the information, and they're like, okay, yeah, you taxes it, you good. So there's some things that you guys are not even tapping into. You're not even functioning, or you just don't know about, or maybe you're nervous about. Maybe you get pulled over and you're like, damn, I got a ticket. What do I do now? Well, I can just go ahead and just let it ride, meaning you don't do nothing with it, which is not what you should do. Or you like, just pay it, right? Knowing that what we've shown y'all is that these people are scheming, right? Call on a jurist, let us help you get that resolved. Maybe you're like, oh damn, I got cancer. I got to keep going getting chemo. Like, why you got to keep getting chemo, man? You got people who can help you right now in real time. But you gotta, gotta actually want it. You gotta actually think like that. That goes back into the Aboriginal mindset. All that stuff is connected. Like if you going off wandering, like yeah, everybody else got a solution, but my people. That is crazy. That's crazy. Like, why? Why would you do that? So anyway, and then just building up the jurisdictions, building up institutions. That's hold on. Let me see. Can't can it pull a 50? Oh, shit. That should be out. But yeah, if there's anybody in the Hawab region that has questions on any of that stuff, let me know. Because otherwise, I got to make sure that I get out of here on time. Because I don't want to be charged for this building, y'all. So, but that's the main thing, y'all, is that nothing really too crazy, but it's something that you want to be thinking about. If you're in a relationship with somebody, you need to be make sure that you guys are aligned. If you're doing business with somebody, you gotta make sure that you're aligned. If you want to, do business with other families, you gotta make sure you're aligned. How do you get there? Asking the right questions, knowing the cosmology, knowing to make sure that what they diet, how they eating, all that stuff, because that stuff will just show itself over time. And little things were just like, oh, okay, let me take a note. And that's the whole point, is that you want to be functioning as a national to the highest degree and just with your families, right? So asking these right questions, don't be falling into the trap where you're like, man, I just want to, and I'm talking to the brothers specifically, like, man, I just want to get with this sister for one night. And then that one night, you're not using the Jimmy, you're not even, like, that's where you go wrong already. Like, you're not even using the Jimmy. So we gotta do a little bit of elevating, right? And then even when we're dating somebody for like a year, 6 months, 3 months, at some point you gotta get to these important questions. What is that STD like? Have you ever had an STD? Do you know the skill? Do you know how to cook? Are you good with business? Are you like these are things you need to get out the way? Are you lazy? Like that's a pet peeve. Are you lazy? So these are things that you want to know that is non-negotiable. You know a person's lazy and that's your red flag. You like, oh, I gotta cut them loose because like I'm not about to deal with it. I'm not about to work with that person to advise them because it takes time. But on that note, I'm gonna make sure that y'all on YouTube is good. It's killing me with some of these stuff. But peace to the family on YouTube, y'all. Appreciate y'all coming through. And then on the folks on the Hawab, if there's any questions that you have, um, let me know because I'm about to end.